Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I woke up this morning, saw a private message I had from a woman that told me, I'm going to read it to you here in a minute, told me that uh, her son had told her a few years ago that there was tunnels over there between Target and the theater, the Regal Theater, which, that's where my home is located. And so I commented on that. And then I made a Facebook post out of it, and that's what I'm going to show you here. I think you're going to find this real interesting here. Okay, so this actually should come in last night right here at 10:23. It says, is your house located over in the area behind Target, behind there in between the theater that shut down on the loop? Reason I'm asking is my son told me a weird story several years back about an underground tunnel that goes underneath the house in that area. He just thought it was really weird and told me about it. Me being his mother, I told him, you're crazy. That can't be real. He said, yes, it is. And I feel like there's a lot of shady stuff going on here. And see, that isn't the first person that had told me that before. Other people told me that, but I want to document this one. I sit here, I just went over to Google Maps, maps.google.com, put in my address, 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas. And I was going to show you here on the map screen that what it looks like. Okay, so here, right here is my little cul-de-sac. And this is where I was ambushed and shot right here by somebody under my home. It's 3802 Fair Circle, and there's my home. And directly behind it is, or to the north, is the Home Depot store, the Midland Home Depot store. I mean, it's a stone's throw away. And then over on this side over here is the Target store, and that's where she's talking about. And then you go over here is the Regal Theater, okay? And so she was saying, yeah, I was in that area, and well, that's exactly where I'm at right there, okay? So that just gives you an idea of where I'm at. Here, I want to show you something else while I'm here, if I can. I'm going to zoom that in, okay, on my home there. And because this is gray on gray, it's a little bit hard to see. But if you look real close, you see this huge building in my backyard. You can't see that from above ground. Here's my home. Here's this building, okay? And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to flip over here to the satellite view right here, okay? And we're going to watch that. Watch where that building is located. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so there's my home. There's the backyard, and I'm gonna switch back. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's what I'm saying. In the backyard, here's my home here. In the backyard is a large building. I believe that is one of the 4 underground homes that I was told about on a recorded phone call. It's the one where Sheriff Candidate Joe Lozano said that the former Sheriff Gary Painter used to hide out in. Multiple people are documented saying that's here. You know, this underground. That's where it's believed that the oil show parties were going on and where that young girl was murdered at in 2010. Remember, the remains of a young girl were found in outside of Midland in 2013. Nobody is trying to expose these and solve her murder. You know, it's just real weird. Okay, so I woke up early this morning. I replied and I said, yes, my home is located directly behind the Home Depot store, and I believe that what your son told you was right. Did he say where the entrance was located? I was told there were 4 3-bedroom, $1 million underground homes here that were put in for George H.W. Bush back in the 80s when he was vice president, and it looks like one of those is located in my backyard on Google Maps. I just showed you that. I have a good guess where 2 others are located in this area too. This is where I believe the wild parties were held during the 2010 oil show and where a young girl was murdered at in 2010 when she refused to prostitute. My friend was at those parties and she was leaving my home and there in 5 minutes. I know that because we talked on the phone when she drove. The young previous owner of my home died the week before the 2008 oil show started, and I believe he was murdered by the same people who shot me from under my home in 2012. And it's now proven police were under my home that night. I've documented multiple people saying these underground homes are here, and one of them was a recent sheriff candidate, Joe Lozano, who I secretly recorded telling me that the Sheriff Painter used to hide out down there. Okay, and so I have a link to a video called Proof of Underground Homes and Tunnels, and you can hear that for yourself, and that's what I asked people before. Do I need to record another sheriff candidate? How much proof do you need to solve the murder of that little girl? It's just absurd that we're not exposing these underground homes and tunnels and solving these murders, and obviously they murdered the guy that lived here before me, Mike Lawn. Okay. And then I commented a second time. I said, go to Google Maps at maps.google.com. That's where we was at. And put in my address, 3802 Fair Circle, and look at my backyard. Do it yourself. Anybody can do it. On the map view screen, you will see a large building, but when you switch to the satellite screen, you can't see it. I believe this is one of those underground homes. Google Earth historical maps shows what looks like a large ditch that was coming from the back of the Home Depot store aimed directly at my home. I believe the people at those underground oil show parties were using this to get to the underground home for the oil show parties. I'm going to show you a picture in a minute. On July 2nd, 2019, I met Homeland Security at the Home Depot store and showed them where I believe this human trafficking murder tunnel was located. See, Homeland is supposed to take care of human trafficking, right? That's why I contacted them, okay? And used for this oil show parties and the forced prostitution murder of that young girl Angie had told me about. And, because she was given a choice. You either prostitute or you die, and Angie said high-level police were there, was afraid to report the murder. The remains of a 14 to 21-year-old girl was found outside of Midland in 2013. I believe that's the young girl. 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up and they poured concrete, but I got this on video. 2 weeks after that video went viral, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland surprise announced he was retiring, and come to find out his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my house. 3 months later, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Kevin McClellan abruptly resigned, and 6 days after that, U.S. Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigned. I suspected that some oil companies were leaning on them to help them cover up these oil show party murders, but then they got caught pouring concrete on video in these capital murders. As you know, Perry was governor of Texas when the oil underground parties were happening. It's lawlessness as they're killing one homeowner after another using corrupt police and the press while proof and evidence means nothing. And I have a link there to a video I made called Busted Corruption at the top. And there's more to it to that story, but that video show it, okay? So this is what I was showing you a minute ago here, is you just look at the satellite view versus the map view on Google Maps. And you can see the underground home in my backyard, okay? The bunker, okay? This is where it's believed the oil show parties were going on. That's where I believe this young girl was murdered at. This is the young girl that was found outside of Midland in 2013. And Angie told me about a young girl murdered in 2010, October 2010, but she was afraid to report it because high-level police were at the parties, okay? And so there was an updated information recently. It was found out the remains have been identified as a black female because they did a DNA analysis. August 1st, 2013, human remains discovered outside of Midland, a 14 to 21-year-old little girl, okay? And I'm going to show you another picture, okay? Now, this picture here comes from Google Earth, which is a downloadable app. And you go back in time, this picture was actually taken about 6 months before, I was ambushed and shot in a premeditated for-profit capital attempted murder by somebody under my home. And as I said earlier, we now know that police were under my home that night. I believe the people going to the oil show party were using this tunnel right here. You could see it where the ground had been cut coming out of the Home Depot store directly to my house right there, just plain as day. That's what I showed Homeland Security. That's the human trafficking murder tunnel I showed them. And I believe the people are going to the party here in the underground home in the backyard, and that's where the little girl was murdered. Maybe DNA evidence was in there, except it's probably filled with concrete now that I showed Homeland Security where it was at. And here I'm pointing out, I was here, right here on July 2nd, 2019 with Homeland Security, and they were more interested in me selling my house and moving, And then that's what I've been showing you. And then I have a list of all these people that I've documented. Rhonda Denman Rogers told me underground facilities half block away. I think that's one of the other 4 homes, maybe a home on Westmont Court. Okay. It was a guy that owns Concho lives in that home. Here's a phone call. The woman tells me that there's 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes. She said they're having pedophile parties down there. Well, that kind of makes sense if you find a, murdered 14-year-old, right? Screenshot. Ricky Ronaldo said him and his brother went in the tunnels here, okay? I got a screenshot of that. He said he used to live in my house. Layla O'Brien said she worked on this job, was put in for George H.W. Bush, 1987, $7.35 million. Named the company she worked with, etc. Joe Lozano, sheriff candidate. Guy running for sheriff sheriff of Midland. He told me Painter used to hide out down there, and I secretly recorded him. And then he later gets arrested. I think that was a little retribution for him slipping up and telling me that. Police report, camera. Officers Davis, Diggy, Chadwell, Angel, and Hale entered my home from the underground entrance. We know that because of the police report time-stamped Dickey inside my home, and he wasn't seen arriving as two other officers were seen, Woodward and Naylor, just 4 minutes earlier. And that's how it was proven that Dickey came in my home from the underground entrance from where I was ambushed and shot from, where they tried to murder me from. It might have been those police that tried to murder me. Angie McGee Hurley told me about a young girl that was murdered at the oil show party 5 minutes from home. Google Maps is showing this bunker in the backyard, okay? Video of them pouring concrete behind my home, I've got a video of that 2 weeks after I met Homeland. And then Lance Eggleston, this is just one of the many death threats I get. I get death threats all the time, recently even. He says, we have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You will be silenced, not if, but when. And just bragging. Nobody's ever going to believe that they're coming from underground. Ha, ha, ha. We're going to kill you, And literally, do you think Lance knows? Of course not, Of course he does. It says, I just can't figure out why our law enforcement in this area isn't doing anything about these oil show party murders when there's so much evidence and there's a body of a dead girl. It seems like they could use some of that money that Pioneer Oil Company gave them to expose these underground homes and solve these murders. This is just a recent picture. I thought it was funny, right? Okay, here's the Midland Police Department. They got $105,000 from Pioneer Oil Company. Here's Ector County. That's Odessa Sheriff. They got $105,000. Here's the Odessa Police Department. They got $105,000 from Pioneer Oil Company. And here's old Sheriff Kreiner with a big old smile on his face from the Midland Sheriff Department. He got $105,000. He don't know nothing about a little girl that's found dead or underground homes you can see on Google Maps. Okay, here we go. CAD programmer Layla O'Brien told me that she worked on this underground safe house project that was completed in 1987 with a budget of $7.35 million. Keep that in mind, 1987 is what she said. That's when it's completed. I secretly recorded her name in the company that she worked for when they were installed. The owner of this home, my home, back then was Randy Offenberger, and he was an engineer for Pioneer. Oh, that's a Pioneer giving the big checks to all our law enforcement. Okay, and a large oil company. I wonder if Pioneer had people at the underground oil show parties. I wonder if Randy Offenberger, the petroleum engineer for Pioneer, knows something about this home being rigged to murder the homeowners, one homeowner after another. Okay. In 1985, the first owner of my home, Pioneer engineer Randy Offenberger, got a work permit from the city to install a sprinkler system. And I was told that the underground home project was completed in 1987. That's what I just told you. I wondered if this permit was to cover up the digging that was going on here at the time, because you need to do digging for sprinklers, right? I would later notice that about a foot of extra dirt had been placed on top of the lawn sometime after this home was built, and I suspected that extra dirt came from the basement tunnel building that happened while rigging this home with hidden access. If the extra dirt was put in after the sprinkler system was installed, then it would have buried it, so somebody would need to install risers so it wasn't buried. But that isn't what I found. So it looks like the sprinkler system was installed at the same time as when the extra dirt was laid down, or sometime afterwards. That makes sense? I made a video about this called 28 Layers, showing that this home is buried under a foot of dirt, foot and a half of dirt. Okay, here I dug out on the side of my house just to show you, I mean, the fence was buried in the back, the whole bottom foot of the fence rotted off, because it was buried under this extra layer of dirt here, this huge amount of dirt. It would have cost a lot of money to haul this dirt in and put it on your existing lawn, and then they bury the house. That's against code. There's all kinds of reasons why this is wrong. It's just weird that they got all this extra dirt. I think it comes from the basement building. Okay. But what I did did was went to the city and I pulled the work permits for this house, and I found out Randy Offenberger, the engineer for Pioneer, got a work permit in 1985 to install that sprinkler permit, and then I was told in 1987 was when that project was completed. And so here you can see where I dug down to show you that the base of the home is a foot and a half under that dirt. The entire property is actually. One of the many other homes that I was told about where the owners had reported somebody in the attic after I was ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going off my attic was located at 3404 Park Lane. And after I posted about this on Facebook, I was threatened by these guys that work for Pioneer. That's the same company again. I tried blocking them, but they would create new IDs and kept stalking me. I made a Facebook post about this. They claimed they were Illuminati. I wondered if those Pioneer employees were at the underground oil show parties. Here, then let me show you that. These are some of the print screens I got, okay? Here I'm speaking here to Athena Hasselton. I said, my case has never relied on Jay's story. Jay's the one that told me about the home on Park Lane. Now I've identified a dozen homes here in Midland. People reported in the attic, a dozen Odessa, 50 across the nation. But this was way back. I didn't have that many, And I said I have irrefutable undeniable evidence of the cover-up of capital murder attempt with the $2,000 reward offered for those that caught on camera. See, the secret police were not even identified back then. This is just one more home which is on my list as a possible home that is rigged into conversation. Here's Athena Hassel. Never mind, you missed my point. Here's a Roland Hasselton, related, obviously. Where's the proof of your house being rigged? Just curious. I have to see a picture of your house, etc. I said, so you work for Pioneer and you're pretending that you haven't seen the proofs. Don't contact me again. You're blocked. Okay. Here's Aaron Urias. You have to do better than block me. Ha ha. We are everywhere. We know and see all. See, that's what I'm talking about. These guys were stalking me. These Pioneer employees were stalking me. I couldn't block them and they're creating new IDs. I said, I just blocked Roland Hasselton. So I assume this Aaron is probably Roland, right? On the post, it's easy to figure out who you are. At least you're man enough to admit that you tried to murder me and you're in hiding. Nobody can find out your special Facebook account. You're blocked again, okay? Don't contact me again. And I had a print screen. And here's another account, okay? Stephen James Rhodes, okay? Friends with Shea Chestnut. It says, we're the Luminaire, always at your door. Watch careful. So there's a threat, okay? So they're stalking me and threatening me. Pioneer employees are, okay? The one thing that I noticed when I did with the court, the group has admitted being involved, capital attempted murders, that you worked for Pioneer. You're blocked, Stephen. Don't ever contact me again. And I have the screenshot of that too. So basically the point is these Pioneer guys, one of them it was connected to this house on Park Lane. And basically this guy Jay Crisp, he writes me and he tells me about this home here on Park Lane where we're hearing people in the attic, and of course this isn't about the people in the attic, but there are just so many. I mean, I talk, I've made videos about the people in the attic, stories here. And of course, I'm ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going off my attic. This is the deed history. That was the current owner, and this is several years ago. I don't know if it's sold since then, and the past owners of this house. And that's them, one of them Pioneer guys, I think they're Roland. That's where, they were trying to, stop me, I guess stop me from posting that or smear my name or whatever, threatening me, stalking me, etc. In May 2019, I wondered if they were at the oil show parties. That'd be something law enforcement could check, right? In May 2019, the Odessa police responded to a shots fired call and then shot and killed Billy Wade Weber when he didn't comply. I did a Google search on him and saw that he was a service supervisor at Pioneer. I wondered if he was at the underground oil show parties too. I just thought that was interesting. Here the Odessa police, they're getting big old checks from Pioneer. They shoot and kill a Pioneer guy, That made me wonder. I wonder if this guy was going to talk or something, Maybe this guy was, went to the police. Maybe that's what he did, made the fatal mistake like I did, went to the police and reported crime, because you can get killed doing that here if police are involved in the crimes. First on CBS, man killed, officer involved shooting. And then basically it's just saying there was a shots fired call. They go over here and it's alleged that he wouldn't put his gun down, so they shot him and killed him, And But I just thought it was interesting. And, here's what I was saying earlier. Why don't law enforcement use some of this money that Pioneer donated them, expose the underground homes, and solve these multiple murders? Sounds like a deal, doesn't it? Come on, Pioneer. Cough up some money to expose the oil show murders. Buddy Way of Midland, Texas.